Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please hit that subscribe button to join our channel for more gripping tales. I stood at the bustling airport terminal, my suitcase neatly packed, ready for the business trip. My boss, Mr. Harrison, was already there, surrounded by the team, all dressed in sharp suits and designer accessories. I glanced at my simple blazer and slacks, feeling a bit out of place but confident in my work. The terminal buzzed with travelers, announcements echoing overhead. My boss caught my eye, his expression unreadable, and waved me over. I approached, expecting a warm greeting or at least a nod of acknowledgement. Instead, he leaned in, his voice low but sharp, and said, "Don't sit with us, you look cheap." The words hit like a punch to the gut. My face flushed as I stood frozen, processing the sting of his insult. I mumbled something incoherent and stepped back, my heart pounding. The team didn't seem to notice, engrossed in their conversation. I turned away, clutching my boarding pass, feeling small in the crowded terminal. I found a quiet corner near a coffee shop, the aroma of espresso grounding me slightly. My boss's words looped in my mind, each syllable a fresh wound to my confidence. I'd worked hard for this trip, preparing reports and presentations late into the night. Yet here I was, singled out, dismissed for my appearance rather than my contributions. I glanced at my reflection in a nearby window, plain, yes, but professional. Was I really that out of place? The team's laughter drifted over, carefree and exclusive, amplifying my isolation. I opened my laptop, pretending to work, but my focus was shattered. A family nearby chatted excitedly about their vacation, their warmth a stark contrast to my cold reality. I wondered if I should just blend into the background for the rest of the trip. Then, over the loudspeaker, a voice crackled to life, pulling me from my thoughts. My name echoed through the terminal, clear and unmistakable. I froze, my name ringing out again from the upgrade desk. Heads turned, including those of my team, their laughter pausing. I hesitated, unsure if I'd misheard, but the announcement repeated, polite and firm. Gathering my courage, I walked toward the desk, feeling eyes on me. The agent smiled warmly, her demeanor a stark contrast to my boss's coldness. "Congratulations, you've been selected for an upgrade to first class," she said. My jaw dropped as she handed me a new boarding pass, the words first class gleaming in gold. I glanced back at my team, catching Mr. Harrison's raised eyebrow. For a moment, I felt a flicker of triumph, but doubt crept in. Was this a mistake? I thanked the agent, my voice shaky, and headed back to collect my things. The terminal felt different now, as if I'd stepped into a new narrative. I grabbed my suitcase, my mind racing with what this upgrade meant. First class was a world apart, luxury I'd never experienced. I imagined spacious seats, gourmet meals, and a quiet space to regain my composure. But my boss's words still lingered, tainting the moment. I wondered if he'd say something snide when he saw me bored. The team was still chatting, oblivious to my moment of vindication. I straightened my blazer, determined to own this unexpected turn. As I approached the gate, the boarding announcement began, first class called first. My heart raced as I stepped forward, clutching my new pass. The gate agent scanned it, nodding approvingly, and I walked down the jetway. For the first time that day, I felt a spark of confidence. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a chance to redefine my place. The first-class cabin was a revelation. Plush seats, soft lighting, and a sense of calm. I settled in, the leather seat enveloping me like a warm embrace. A flight attendant offered me a glass of champagne, her smile genuine. I accepted, the bubbles tickling my nose as I took a sip. My boss and the team were somewhere in economy, and I couldn't help but smile. The humiliation from earlier began to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of victory. I opened my laptop again, this time with purpose, reviewing my presentation. The cabin's serenity allowed me to focus, my ideas sharper than ever. I glanced out the window at the tarmac, planes taxiing in the distance. This moment felt like a gift, a reminder that I was more than my boss's cruel words. I vowed to make the most of this trip, upgrade or not. As the plane took off, I leaned back, the hum of the engines soothing my nerves. I thought about the meeting ahead, a chance to shine in front of clients. My boss's comments still stung, but it no longer defined me. I was here in first class, with the same skills and drive as anyone else. The flight attendant brought a warm towel, and I pressed it to my face, letting the warmth ease my tension. I glanced at the menu, filet mignon or seared salmon, a far cry from economy's pretzels. I chose the salmon, savoring the thought of a proper meal. The cabin was quiet, passengers engrossed in their own worlds. I felt a sense of belonging, even if temporary. My phone buzzed with a work email, but I ignored it. This moment was mine, and I wasn't letting it slip away. Mid-flight, I rehearsed my presentation mentally, each slide clear in my mind. The upgrade had shifted something in me, a subtle boost of confidence. I wasn't just the cheap employee anymore, I was someone worthy of this seat. I wondered how the team was faring in economy, cramped and likely grumbling. The thought brought a fleeting smile, though I didn't dwell on it. My focus was on the opportunity ahead, not petty revenge. The flight attendant checked in, offering a refill on my coffee. I thanked her, feeling more at ease with each interaction. The first-class cabin felt like a cocoon, shielding me from the earlier sting. I glanced at my watch, 2 hours until landing. I had time to refine my notes and mentally prepare. This trip was about proving myself, not just to my boss but to me. As we descended, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The upgrade had been a fluke, but it felt like fate. I pictured walking into the meeting, head held high, my work speaking louder than my outfit. The flight attendant collected my tray, wishing me luck on my trip. I smiled, genuinely grateful for her kindness. The plane touched down smoothly, and I gathered my things, ready to face the day. As I exited the plane, I caught a glimpse of my team in the economy line, looking tired. Mr. Harrison's eyes met mine briefly, his expression unreadable. I didn't linger, heading straight for the terminal. The upgrade had given me a boost, but the real test was the meeting. I was ready to show them what I was capable of. This was my moment to shine. At the baggage claim, I stood apart from the team, my confidence still fragile but growing. The airport was a blur of activity, travelers rushing to their next destination. I checked my phone for the hotel shuttle schedule, eager to settle in. My boss's words still echoed, but they were losing their grip. The upgrade had been a small victory, a reminder of my worth. I spotted my suitcase and grabbed it, ready to move forward. The team was nearby, but I didn't join them. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was choosing my own path. The shuttle arrived, and I boarded, finding a seat by the window. The city skyline loomed ahead, full of promise. I took a deep breath, ready for the challenge. This trip was mine to conquer, one step at a time. At the hotel, I checked in and headed to my room, the weight of the day lifting slightly. The room was modest but comfortable, a place to regroup before the meeting. I unpacked, hanging my blazer carefully, as if to prove it wasn't cheap. My boss's words were a distant hum now, overshadowed by my resolve. I reviewed my presentation again, each slide a testament to my hard work. The upgrade had been a fluke, but it had shifted my perspective. I wasn't just an employee, I was a professional with value. I glanced at the clock. The meeting was tomorrow morning. I set my alarm, determined to be early and prepared. The city lights sparkled outside, mirroring my newfound spark. This was my chance to redefine my story, and I was ready. The next morning, I woke early, the hotel room quiet except for the hum of the city outside. I dressed carefully, choosing my best shirt and tie, though still simple compared to the team's designer wear. My boss's words lingered faintly, but I pushed them aside, focusing on the task ahead. The mirror reflected a determined face, ready to prove my worth. I grabbed my laptop and notes, heading to the conference room downstairs. The hotel lobby was bustling, business travelers in sharp suits rushing about. I felt a pang of self-consciousness but shook it off. The upgrade had reminded me that appearances weren't everything. I arrived at the meeting room early, setting up my presentation with care. The clients would be here soon, and I was ready to impress. My boss and team arrived, their chatter stopping as they saw me. I nodded politely, owning my space. The meeting began, and I took my place at the table, my laptop open and ready. Mr. Harrison led the introductions, his tone professional but distant toward me. The clients, a group of sharp executives, listened attentively as he spoke. I waited for my turn, my heart steady despite the nerves. When he called on me, I stood, projecting confidence I hadn't felt yesterday. My presentation flowed smoothly, each slide clear and compelling. The clients nodded, jotting notes, their interest palpable. I glanced at my boss, catching a flicker of surprise in his eyes. The humiliation at the airport felt like a lifetime ago. I answered questions with ease, my preparation paying off. The room felt alive with possibility, and I was at its center. This was my moment, and I was nailing it. As I wrapped up, the clients applauded, their smiles genuine and encouraging. Mr. Harrison offered a tight nod, his expression unreadable but less harsh. I sat down, adrenaline coursing through me, a quiet triumph settling in. The rest of the team presented, but I could tell my work had set the tone. The clients leaned in, asking follow-up questions about my data. I answered confidently, my voice steady and clear. The meeting room, once intimidating, now felt like my stage. I caught a teammate's eye, and she gave me a subtle thumbs up. The airport incident was fading, replaced by this moment of validation. As the meeting ended, the clients approached me, shaking my hand warmly. I felt seen, not for my clothes, but for my work. The upgrade had been a spark, but this was the fire. After the meeting, we gathered for a quick debrief in the hotel lounge. Mr. Harrison was quieter than usual, his usual bravado subdued. He mentioned the client's positive feedback, glancing at me briefly. I didn't need his approval anymore, but it felt good to know I'd made an impact. The team chatted about the next steps, and I contributed ideas, my voice stronger now. The lounge was cozy, with soft music and the clink of coffee cups. I sipped my latte, feeling more at ease with my colleagues. The airport moment was a distant memory, overshadowed by my performance. I realized I'd been holding myself back, letting my boss's words define me. No more. I was here to stay, and I'd earned my place. The day felt like a turning point, one I'd never forget. That evening, the team went to a fancy restaurant for dinner, a client celebration. I hesitated but decided to join, no longer hiding in the background. The restaurant was elegant, with chandeliers and white tablecloths, a world apart from my usual haunts. I wore my simple blazer proudly, no longer ashamed of my style. The clients greeted me warmly, referencing my presentation with praise. Mr. Harrison sat across from me, his demeanor softer but still reserved. I engaged in the conversation, sharing ideas and laughing with the group. The food was exquisite, each bite a reminder of how far I'd come. I caught my reflection in a window, confident, composed, and capable. The upgrade had been a fluke, but this moment was earned. I belonged here, and no one could take that away. As dinner wound down, the clients invited me to join them for drinks at the hotel bar. I glanced at my boss, expecting a dismissive look, but he just nodded. I accepted, feeling a surge of confidence I hadn't known before. The bar was lively, with soft jazz and clinking glasses creating a warm vibe. The clients asked about my career, genuinely interested in my story. I shared my journey, from late-night study sessions to this pivotal trip. They listened, nodding, their respect evident. I realized my boss's words had been a reflection of his own biases, not my worth. The airport incident felt like a distant blip now, irrelevant in the face of this connection. I sipped my drink, savoring the moment. This trip had changed me, and I was ready for more. Back at the hotel, I sat in my room, reflecting on the day's events. The upgrade, the meeting, the dinner, all had shifted my perspective. I opened my laptop, drafting a thank you email to the clients, my tone professional but warm. My boss's words no longer held power over me. I'd proven myself where it mattered. I thought about the future, about what I wanted from this job. I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was a contender. The city lights sparkled outside, a reminder of the opportunities ahead. I jotted down goals for the next quarter, my ambition reignited. The airport had been a low point, but it had led to this high. I closed my laptop, feeling lighter than I had in days. Tomorrow was a new day, and I was ready to seize it. The next morning, I joined the team for breakfast, my confidence steady now. The hotel dining room was bright, with sunlight streaming through large windows. My boss was there, sipping coffee, his usual air of authority tempered. I greeted him politely, no longer intimidated by his presence. The team discussed the trip's success, and I chimed in with ideas for follow-ups. My colleagues listened, their respect subtle but clear. I realized I'd been waiting for external validation when I'd had it within me all along. The upgrade had been a catalyst, but my work had carried the day. I ate my omelet, savoring the moment of normalcy. The airport incident was just a story now, one I'd tell with a smile. I was more than my boss's words. I was unstoppable. As we packed up to leave, I felt a sense of closure on the trip. The hotel lobby buzzed with departing guests, and I moved through it with purpose. My suitcase felt lighter, as if the weight of the airport moment had lifted entirely. I caught Mr. Harrison's eye as we boarded the shuttle, and he gave a small nod. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. I didn't need his approval anymore. I had my own. The shuttle ride to the airport was quiet, the team tired but content. I looked out the window, the city fading behind us. The upgrade had been a fluke, but its impact was real. It had reminded me of my worth, pushing me to step up. I was ready for the next challenge, whatever it was. This trip had been a turning point, and I was grateful. At the airport, I checked in with ease, my confidence unshaken by the familiar surroundings. The terminal was as chaotic as before, but I navigated it differently now. My boarding pass was for economy this time, but it didn't matter. I'd tasted first class, not just in the plane but in my own self-worth. I spotted my team near the gate, but I didn't feel the need to join them. I grabbed a coffee, sitting alone but content, reviewing my notes from the trip. The upgrade desk was quiet today, no announcements for me. But I didn't need them anymore. I'd proven myself in the meeting, at dinner, and in my own heart. The plane boarded, and I took my seat, ready for the journey home. This trip had changed me, and I was ready for what came next. The flight home was uneventful, the hum of the plane a soothing backdrop to my thoughts. I sat in economy, cramped but unfazed, my mind on the future. The trip had been a roller coaster, from humiliation to triumph in just a few days. I jotted down ideas for my next project, my ambition burning brighter than ever. My boss's words, once a dagger, were now just a footnote in my story. I glanced at the clouds outside, their vastness mirroring my newfound perspective. The passenger next to me was reading, oblivious to my quiet victory. I smiled to myself, grateful for the upgrade that had sparked this change. It wasn't about the seat, it was about what it represented. I was capable, worthy, and ready to take on more. This was just the beginning of my journey. As we landed, I felt a sense of homecoming, not just to my city but to myself. The airport was familiar, its chaos no longer intimidating. I grabbed my suitcase and headed for the exit, my steps sure and steady. My boss and team were somewhere behind me, but I didn't look back. I'd proven myself, not just to them but to me. The upgrade had been a fluke, but its impact was lasting. I hailed a taxi, the driver chatting about the weather as we drove. I nodded, my mind already on the next steps in my career. The city lights welcomed me home, their glow a promise of new opportunities. I was no longer the cheap employee. I was a professional with a future. This trip had reshaped me, and I was ready to keep growing. At home, I unpacked, the routine grounding me after the whirlwind trip. My small apartment felt cozy, a space that reflected me, not my boss's judgment. I hung my blazer, no longer seeing it as cheap, but as mine. I opened my laptop, drafting a follow-up email to the clients, my tone confident. The meeting's success still warmed me, a reminder of what I could do. I thought about the upgrade, how it had shifted my perspective in ways I hadn't expected. It wasn't about luxury, it was about recognition, even if by chance. I sipped a cup of tea, the quiet of my home a stark contrast to the airport's chaos. My boss's words were a distant memory now, irrelevant in the face of my growth. I was ready for the next challenge, whatever it might be. The next day, I went to the office, my mindset different from before the trip. The familiar cubicles and coffee machine felt less oppressive now. I greeted my colleagues with a smile, no longer shrinking into the background. Mr. Harrison passed by, offering a curt nod, his usual demeanor intact. I didn't let it faze me. His opinion was just one voice now, not the only one. I sat at my desk, diving into my work with renewed energy. The clients had sent a follow-up email, praising my presentation specifically. I forwarded it to my boss, not for validation but as a record of my impact. The office buzzed around me, but I felt centered, in control. The airport incident was a story I'd tell someday, a lesson in resilience. I was more than my appearance. I was my work, my drive, my future. Over the next week, I noticed subtle changes in how my colleagues treated me. The team included me more, their respect earned through my performance. Mr. Harrison was still distant, but his barbs were fewer, his tone less sharp. I didn't seek his approval, focusing instead on my projects and goals. The upgrade had been a moment, but the meeting had been the real victory. I started mentoring a new hire, sharing tips I wished I'd known early on. The office felt less like a battleground and more like a place to grow. I thought about the airport, how small I'd felt, and how far I'd come. That moment had been a spark, but I was the one who'd turned it into a flame. I was building my career, one step at a time, and it felt good. On Friday, I met with my manager for a performance review, my first since the trip. I walked in prepared, my notes organized, my confidence steady. Mr. Harrison was there, but so was his boss, Ms. Carter, who'd heard about the meeting. I presented my contributions, focusing on the client feedback and my role. Ms. Carter nodded, impressed, while Mr. Harrison stayed quiet. I mentioned the trip, not the airport incident, but the success we'd achieved. The review ended with praise and a hint of a promotion down the line. I left the room, my heart light, my future bright. The upgrade had been a fluke, but it had reminded me of my worth. My boss's words no longer defined me. I did. I was ready for whatever came next, and I was excited. That evening, I went out with colleagues, a rare social outing for me. The bar was lively, the conversation easy, and I felt like part of the group. We talked about the trip, laughing about the long flight and tight schedules. I didn't mention the airport incident. It didn't matter anymore. My colleagues toasted to the team's success, including me in their cheers. I sipped my drink, feeling at ease in my own skin. The upgrade had been a moment of validation, but the real change was within me. I'd stepped out of my boss's shadow and into my own light. The city sparkled outside, full of possibilities I was ready to chase. I clinked glasses with my team, grateful for the journey. This was my story now, and I was writing it. Over the weekend, I reflected on the trip, journaling my thoughts for clarity. The airport moment had been painful, but it had pushed me to prove myself. I wrote about the upgrade, the meeting, and the dinner, each a step in my growth. My apartment was quiet, the perfect space to process everything. I realized I'd been letting others' opinions shape me for too long. The upgrade had been a random act, but it had shown me my potential. I set new goals, bigger projects, more responsibility, maybe even a new role. My boss's words were just noise now, drowned out by my own voice. I closed my journal, feeling a sense of peace. The trip had been a turning point, but the journey was mine. I was ready to keep moving forward, no looking back. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you loved this story, please subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales.